Alrighty, I think we are all good to go here, as I always do. I just want folks to let me know if they can hear me, and if you can, which is the hope, then we'll get things going here. But just wanted to hop on, provide a little update here with the winter weather that is going on across the area, which has been quite impactful. Some of our previous winter weather events maybe haven't had quite the same impacts as this one, so definitely something that makes this one a little bit unique. And the fact that it's on a weekend too, maybe people are kind of wanting to get out and do some things. I know that semester is ending here soon for several schools in the area, so I know there's going to be lots of places people want to be and lots of things they want to do. So it looks like we're good to go on the audio side of things. So I'm going to go ahead and get things started here. So let's just take a live look outside at several different spots here in the area. We've got Charleston, Decatur, Springfield, and Champaign. We're not going to do a whole lot of looking down there around I-70. So if you're kind of from the Effingham area down that way, not going to be a whole lot to show you because it's actually not really snowing all that much down that way, as I'm sure you would know by now. But lots of these other places have certainly had some impacts here, including some major interstates that are having some closures with some big accidents. So we'll touch up on all that here coming up. But this is what it looks like outside in all of these locations, including down there towards the State Farm Center. And in fact, I'm going to get you a closer look at that because we've got some Illini hoops in about 2 hours. Maybe some of you plan on heading out there to watch that in person. Maybe some of you hoping to watch it at home. Maybe don't remember what network it's on. It's on Peacock. So if you haven't subscribed to Peacock, again, you might want to think about how you're going to be able to watch or listen to the game because I know not everyone subscribes to that. I've caved in because I feel like so many of their games are on there, but I'm getting sidetracked here. That game is about 2 hours away. You can see the crews cleaning up there, the parking lot outside the State Farm Center, making sure it is in good shape as the crowds start to move in. So there is one piece of news that just went by within the last 15 minutes, I believe, that I want to pass along. That would be an upgrade to the alerts that are in place here across the area. We had a winter weather advisory all across the area going into today. But here in the last 15 minutes, we've actually seen an upgrade to a winter storm warning across some of the, we'll call it central counties in the area, but towards the northeast quadrant. That includes McLean, DeWitt, Piatt, Champaign, Douglas, Vermilion, Edgar, and then 4 out of our 5 Indiana counties as well. And that is done to kind of show you the difference between that particular region and all the others, and the fact that it's probably snowing a little harder in there. We're probably going to see some higher accumulations. I believe the general amount within these winter weather advisories has been somewhere between 2 and 5 inches. Now in the winter storm warning, they're kind of talking about maybe 5 up to 8 inches. Now our original forecast said anywhere between about 3 to 6. And that, for the most part, seems to be where things are going. But there's some select locations that are really seeing things pile up here. I'll actually have a short list of totals to share with you. So that way we can kind of take a look at things and see how they are stacking up here with the numbers. Of course, if you have a total that you want to share, feel free to share that with us as well. But that's the situation right now. That's the newest development, is that upgrade to a winter storm warning for those locations. I'll bring you now to our satellite and radar picture, but I'm going to ditch the satellite part because that can be awfully hard to see here on this monitor. So here is where the radar is showing the snow right now. Again, I-70 kind of getting left out entirely of this. Maybe you've had a few light snow showers down that way, but really not seeing anything in the way of accumulation. But right now, here's our current situation with some of those bands of heavier snowfall continuing to settle on in. If we run this back for about, 1 o'clock? Let's run it back for the last 6 hours or so, and we'll see here on the sloop where some of those heavier bands have settled in. Really has kind of been up there around the I-74 area, which looked like there could be some sharp cutoffs that way. But this band really did kind of shift north just a little bit. Not too much, but enough to where I-70 is kind of getting left out, and all of a sudden 74 is getting more of that bullseye zone. So those totals are looking pretty good up that way. Again, we'll talk about some totals that we've had sent to us so far, but this is how the day has played out up to this point. Location-wise, this is pretty much where the snow is going to remain. And of course, if you are seeing the snow out there right now, it's been the same kind all day long. It's been this really powdery stuff. It seems like there's a million flakes falling down at once. And this is the kind of snow that actually piles up a little better, this powdery stuff, a little more efficient in the way it can stack. It's able to do more with less. So that's why we're seeing those totals kind of where they are at the moment. Let's talk about road conditions, because that's the big thing. Whether or not you have a little bit of snow or a lot of snow, your road conditions are equally poor here all across the area. So this is what the map shows. Lots of pink. Again, if you're around the I-70 region, chances are you have no idea what I'm talking about. It's like, what do you mean? It hasn't snowed all day. Well, for everyone else, it has been a problem, and that has really hurt our roadways here. The roads were actually covered very quickly this morning. And since then, it's been hard to catch up because our temperatures are really cold. I'll show you those temperatures here in just a moment. But usually when you're somewhere in the low 30s, somewhere in the 20s, some of the treatment that's put out there on the road, it's able to kind of lower that melting point. You're able to melt stuff there in 20-degree weather. It's able to keep up and clear the roads a little better. We drop all the way down into the teens. It's just hard for that kind of material to make too much of a difference. So harder to keep up with the coverage of the roads, and that snow is going to be trickier to get rid of. So pink pretty much everywhere, according to those maps. And I want to show you now some other pictures, which come from the IDOT road camera network. So we'll bring that full screen just so you can get a little bit of a better look here at the details. Now, a couple of things to specify here with what we're looking at. So I'm going to start with up there in Springfield. That's just off of I-55. There is an accident outside of Springfield. So traffic is kind of being rerouted there off parts of the interstate. We'll kind of get into detail where that is happening specifically in just a moment. Same situation in Mattoon. You see 57 there and how there's no traffic and how the roads have hardly been cleared. Also an accident there on 57 just east of Mattoon that has taken quite a while here to clean up. There's quite a bit of stuff going on there, pretty big pile up. So that's what's happening on those two cameras in particular. There are kind of active situations that are either being worked on right now or there was plenty going on there earlier. Then we're looking at 57 in Champaign and Tuscola in the top left and on the bottom right, respectively. And you can see those interstates maybe not in horrible shape, especially the one here just in town in Champaign. 57 looks like they've got at least one lane clear, both north and southbound. Tuscola, same situation there, at least let me see here. That looks like it's the southbound lane there on the right side, of course. So they've got one lane clear. Northbound kind of looks a little covered on both sides there. So if you are, again, hiking up the interstate, if you know anybody that is, just let them know everything that's going on because there is a lot of trouble with travel on these major roadways here. So it is not going to get necessarily any better as long as the snow sticks around. So just be prepared to have to deal with similar conditions like that. Let's bring in our temperature map. And this is the actual air temperature, not the wind chill, is the actual temperature. So I said how in snowfall events where it's 30 degrees or 28 degrees, something like that, we're able to have stuff laid out on the roads. We're able to have just kind of items here and things that can lower the temperature or lower the melting temperature of the snow and make it easier to clear off. We're in the low teens to single digits, so that stuff, it can only get you so far. There's no secret magic trick or, combination or potion or something like that that can lower the temperature all the way down to this. So that is why things are a little extra tricky this go around. This is by far the coldest the weather has been during a snowfall event that we've had so far this year. It's only going to get colder. The snow is a big story right now, and it's grabbing a lot of the attention, especially with the way the roadways are. But let's look at the regional picture of the temperatures. Look at that there in Northwest Illinois. It's 6 degrees in Galesburg, 6 degrees up there in Davenport. That air is heading this direction and is going to get just bitter cold here into the night. So that will also be something to follow, especially because when the snow is done falling, well, things are going to really ice together pretty well, and that could keep those impacts lingering around for just a little extra time. So let's look at Future Track. It'll take us through the rest of the afternoon and evening here. We'll see as this thing moves around. Again, not really changing too much with the way of location on this Future Track. Maybe I-70 gets something at some point in time, but it's just it's not going to really pile up to too much. So not too much longer here to go, relatively speaking, with the snow. We're already kind of halfway through in certain locations. And by 7 p.m., that snow could largely be out of the area, and we could be pretty much done with it here before we get too deep into the evening. So definitely nice to see that. But another thing, as mentioned just a moment ago, the impacts are not going to completely vanish when the snow goes away. We're going to be dealing with that here through the night as well. You'll see on the timeline for your winter impacts, we're keeping these arrows red until about 7 p.m. at least. It's kind of hard to tell what's going to happen from that point onward, how well we're able to clear off the roads, how much things ice together. But at least there's not going to be any kind of active ongoing snowfall, any kind of, whatever when it comes to the winter weather still going on. It'll kind of be wrapped up from that point onward. So deeper into the night, maybe things improve a little bit. But again, it's hard to tell with temperatures that cold. And there's nothing that's going to completely delete that snow off the ground. Just a matter of how well we can actually clear it up and take care of it once it has moved on through. I will also show you now our wind chills as we head through the evening. And this one is going to startle you if you don't know what's coming just yet. We've done our best to talk about it. Of course, the actual snow has been the big storyline here. But later on tonight, look at these wind chills. We're talking about by 6 a.m. tomorrow. Look at that. It might feel like negative 28 in Pontiac, might feel like negative 21 in Effingham, and that's the most tolerable spot here in the area. So, yes, you've got that snow. Yes, things are probably going to compact and freeze up pretty good. But if you're just thinking about maybe, grabbing a cup of coffee tomorrow morning, heading to church, doing whatever you do on Sunday mornings to just kind of get ready to relax, this stuff is going to impact you whether there's snow or not. It is going to be dangerously cold. So those susceptible to this, the elderly, some of the younger children out there, you can bundle up as much as you want. Negative 25 and a wind chill is still going to feel really cold if you're out there for too long. So just make sure that you stay inside as much as possible. Hopefully your destination isn't that far away. But even if you're outside for just 5 minutes, frostbite can happen quick, especially if you're a little underdressed for this. Like I said, there's no way to really dress for negative 25 or negative 30 wind chill. There's a way to maybe dress to tolerate it for a little bit longer than something less than that. But there's nothing that can keep you out there for hours at a time. So again, don't play any games here with this. Stay inside. If you got a fireplace, get a fire going there. Make sure your heat is up all nice and good. And just be sure to practice those electric safety tips here during the winter too. You don't want to plug those space heaters in and have it kind of short circuit a power strip. Just again, all that stuff. Keep that in mind because we don't want any blazes getting started there. That is for sure. So I'm going to work on my other computer here. I'm going to bring up the Google traffic maps and kind of show you where those accidents are in particular. While I do that, I'm going to kind of let you see the scene outside. We'll bring up that quad cam again here real quick. So that way we can get multiple locations in there and also work on getting different kinds of IDOT cameras. So that way we can look at some of the other interstates because the ones I showed earlier, a lot of them were the I-57 region. So just want to make sure we're taking a look at all places there because, again, not everyone living right up and down I-57, of course. So while I get that pulled up, you can kind of just enjoy the snow, dread the snow, whatever kind of description you want to give it here. I know it's been a quick start to winter. And we are technically not even really in winter. First day of winter can never remember it from one year to the next. Now it's either the 20th or the 21st. I'm not sure 100% which it is this year, which is kind of sad. You would think I would know that. But in fact, let's just check it out just for fun here. First day of winter 2025. Winter 2025. So it is the 21st this year. So, yep, officially winter not started for another 8 days here. So we're still kind of technically in fall right now, which is hard to believe and certainly doesn't sound right whatsoever. But that is the truth. So let's get these traffic maps pulled up here. And of course, we've got all sorts of details on these accidents in the area on our website. I'm going to do my best here to provide you with as many details as I know. I don't have every detail right in front of me, so bear with me here as I get some of this stuff going. But I believe around 8:45, close to 9 o'clock, again, not exact timing there, this first accident happened. And let me try to get this pulled up here so you can see. Perfect. So here's the situation. Right here is Mattoon. Right here is I-57. And it sounded like there were some pretty bad accidents right there north of the exit. I believe that's exit 190. So this part of the interstate has been closed off here for quite some time to kind of take care of things with that accident. Lots of cars involved in that pileup. And also, there was a separate one out there near Arcola as well. So 57, not in great shape right now. There's lots of stuff going up and down the interstate that is keeping things quite slow. And for those of you that were maybe a little timid, didn't want to drive on the interstate in the first place, maybe taking 45 instead, well, if that much interstate is blocked off, 45 is going to be very busy all of a sudden. So you can kind of see this yellow color here on 45, even some red colors. That doesn't mean there's any sort of accidents there. That just means traffic is really, really slow because you're funneling interstate traffic all of a sudden onto a two-lane road, one lane each direction. So that can really slow things down. Additionally, there was another one out here around the Springfield area as well. I believe this was around where 55 and at 72 meet. You can kind of see where the dotted lines are. That's where the roads are closed. Looks like that's the southbound lane here. So just all sorts of a mess outside of Springfield there on the interstates. So that is where these accidents are at the moment. And that is what is causing the most problems. Let's zoom out, just kind of take a general look at how traffic is flowing here across the area. Again, 57, definitely slow. Definitely want to find another way to travel if you are using that particular interstate for your travel. Looks like 74 actually doing okay between Champaign and Danville. I know there's been quite a bit of snow. Maybe this one just a less busy road, and that's why it's not showing up there, or at least less busy now that people know what's out there. I'm not saying 74 is normally a not busy interstate, because I'm absolutely sure it is. But the farther west you are, that's where the snow's been around the longest. Same with the farther north areas. So things are slow, as you might presume, in a winter weather event. But the big problem definitely there outside of Springfield and up and down 57 pretty much all throughout as well. So let's take a look and see we got the radar picture pulled up here, looking at the wrong screen. That is where your snow is continuing to fall here. I'm going to put together a little something, hopefully be able to let us look at some snowfall totals here. I'd rather actually show them to you than read them out loud, but that might be all I'm able to do here. So I'm going to bring up your snowfall totals. I just have 5 locations here on this map. I didn't have very many to go with right when I started this, but there's been a ton that have come in here within the last several minutes. So I'm going to talk about those real quick, and I'll talk about some others that I've got here on the side. So in Normal, got a little over 5 inches in a report. Danville, 5 inches. Got a generic report from Macon County, worked on trying to find where specifically that was, but parts of Macon County, they're near 5 inches. Springfield heard over 3¼ inches. And then just outside here in our lots, it was close to about 2¼ 2½. So just kind of average there to around 2.3 or so. Again, that is outside here in our parking lot in Champaign. Totals in and around the city may differ. Here's a list of other totals I've got. I'll bring up another screen here so that way you're not getting confused with seeing numbers and reading different numbers. So we've got Gibson City's actually up to 6 inches. These are some unofficial reports here because we either I've just gotten them from viewers or just kind of not certified stations, but we're sure that these reports are coming from you, so we trust them here for sure. Gibson City, 6 inches. Royal, 6 inches. Bellflower, 6. Bismarck, 6. Villa Grove, 5.5. Armstrong, 5. Mahomet, 5. Leroy, 5. Lexington, 5 inches. And the list goes on and on here as it moves around on my screen. And let me get that pulled up here in a different window just so I'm not getting that interrupted. But again, if you have a snowfall report, I would love to see it in the comments just to relay it along, just so folks that are scrolling around through the chat know what's going on as well. Okay, so here are those reports. I got cut off there. Mahomet's got 5 inches. Leroy, 5 inches. Lexington, 5. Champaign-Urbana's got a 5-inch report. You saw the Bloomington Normal area 5-inch report. Monticello, 5 inches. Sedoris, 5. Charleston, 5. Mattoon, 4. Clarence, 4. Springfield, 4. Tuscola, 4. Streeter, 3. South of Danville, 3. And Vandalia has nothing. So it's kind of a brief overview. If that was a lot to follow there, I know that was a lot to hear. It'd be better if it was visual, but kind of tricky to put those together while also showing you some of these maps here. That's a general, I'd say 4 to 6 inches across the air, which is already kind of pushing the upper limits of the initial guess here. But snowfalls like these are just sometimes they're a little bit of a wild card because, as I mentioned, there is this element going on with this particular round of snow to where it is a lot more powdery than normal. So I'm going to try to compare 2 different types of snow here. So the one that we had on Thursday, it was kind of a powdery-ish snow in general, but it was a little closer to our typical 10 inches of snow to 1 inch of liquid water that we typically see here with winter events that are kind of nearer to that freezing point. We are a lot colder out right now, so these snowflakes are a lot smaller. They're a lot more, again, it's kind of a powdery snow in nature. It's not this slushy stuff. So you're able to, in that same 1 inch of water, actually be able to produce more snow. It's able to stack much more efficiently, and it's able to accumulate better. So our scale is probably closer to that 15 to 1, if not 20 to 1. So in a typical snowfall event, like I said, it's 10 inches of snow for 1 inch of water. We might be double that rate right now just with how cold it is outside. So that is making a huge difference in things as well. And that is going to be the nature of the snow that we see. If you've kind of been out there messing with it, trying to clear it off your windshield, it's blowing around, it's getting in your face, it's getting in your eyes. And I see one question here that is talking about the wind speeds. I haven't really talked about that a whole lot yet. It's not going to be the windiest day that we've ever seen. I think was it 2 Saturdays ago, that big snow during the Illini football game. That was a windy day. This one, breezy, not quite as bad. These are your current sustained wind speeds between general 10 and 15 miles an hour. Now, as we continue on through the night, so this is the current wind gust here. So we're not seeing gusts too far above that. A gust has to be about 10 miles an hour above the sustained wind to actually show up. So gusts are below 30 miles an hour, which is great. But if we look at our future track for those wind gusts, I'll pull one up here, we will see that things are going to remain comparatively mild. If it's 20 to 30 miles an hour, that's certainly not a negligible wind. And it will pick up here as we go through the nights as this system tries to go through. So we are talking about a 30-mile-an-hour gust here at some point in time. And that could blow the snow around with how powdery it is. It's going to get tossed up in the air, lofted around, and thrown around very easily in these kind of conditions. But it's not the worst that we've ever seen. It's not necessarily going to lead, I don't want to say it's going to lead to whiteout conditions, but visibility is pretty low right now in these winds. The good thing is when those winds do get stronger at around 7 or 8 p.m., that's when the snow is going to stop actively falling. So it's just a problem of snow on the ground being tossed around as well. As far as visibility goes right now, that is a problem. Again, the wind isn't as bad as it's been before, so maybe it's not quite the problem it's been in the past, but you're still seeing visibility of around 1 mile or less, pretty much from the counties north of I-70 all the way north through to the edge of our area up there. So lots of typical things happening here in this event. We've got a little bit of wind out there, the powdery snow, it's going to drift around. The roads are covered. We've got some slick conditions out there as well. So again, pretty typical winter weather event. We kind of talk about these clipper systems, how they can be in and out very quickly. This one started at, I think, 6 in the morning for some of us, and it's going to be done before 4 p.m. in some spots, it looks like. So maybe around a 10-hour snowfall event. We've seen them be longer than that already so far this year. But nonetheless, it can still bring its impacts. It's not the amount of snow that matters sometimes. It's when it happens. It's where exactly it happens. And we're seeing that in today's case exactly. It's a Saturday. There's going to be more people out on the road on a day like today compared to Thursday's snow when it happened kind of in the evening time. There's less places to go, less things to do on a Thursday night than there are a Saturday afternoon, especially when we've got Illini basketball here in Champaign, among many other things. Like I said, I'm sure that there's some schools that are getting close. There's some colleges that are getting very close to semester break. There's some schools that are getting close to Christmas break here for a little bit. So lots of people want to get out there and have fun. Not saying you can't do that, but make sure wherever you're going, there's a shorter trip, so that way you're not chancing things out there in these kind of conditions. So let's, once again, we're going to head to our, we'll see how I want to do this. Let's go to the live camera here, and we're going to look at some more of those IDOT cameras, so that way we can get a better view of what's going on. So I'll bring that full screen so you can get a better look at what's going on. We'll change out our quad box here of our sky cams with some of those IDOT road maps. So we'll kind of look at more of those roadways up and down 72 and 74. So let's start off, actually, let's just start off in some towns here. Let's go to the far west. Let's look at Jacksonville. This will be at Route 67 and Lincoln Avenue. So roads little covered there. That one doesn't look too bad. Looks like things have been able to move around just a little bit that way. As we move farther east, let's look once again at Springfield. This is I-55 at Sangamon Avenue. You can see traffic definitely slow there, without a doubt, as the accidents outside of the city have definitely brought things to a bit of a halt out that way. Let's now take a look in Decatur at Route 51 and I-72. You can see, again, just one lane that is fully cleared, or at least partially cleared there on both the north, or on both the east and westbound directions. Now let's look at, let's head farther north. Let's see if we can get some of the Bloomington normal area ones, because they've gotten some pretty higher snowfall reports, and I don't think I can see everywhere. Let's head to let's look at Rantoul here. It's, well, that one's a little outdated. I think that one's a little outdated. So this is Rantoul at 136 in Maplewood. So again, some covered roadways that direction. Let's look here in Urbana, see what's going on here in town. So this would be University in Cunningham, that big intersection out there. And there's plenty of turns that go on in that intersection, and you can see the snow is just all over. So again, these locations, just be careful if you need to be anywhere out here in the snow. It is just a mess anywhere that you end up. Let's also take a look now. Oh man, Tuscola along I-57. That is hard to see what's going on out there. I do not believe that is snow on the lens. I think that's just stuff blowing around or coming down at a pretty good rate. So that camera at Tuscola, not hardly able to see anything around the I-57 region. This is now I-74 from Urbana along Cunningham there. That one's actually not in too bad a shape. We've got both lanes cleared in one direction, it looks like. We'll continue to look around. In fact, let's head down to Effingham. I know there's nothing to see down there, but that's kind of the point. Let's look at the intersection, or where 57 meets 70 there along Keller Drive. It's clear as can be. In fact, there's hardly even any snow there along the grass, so there hasn't been much down that direction, which has been good for them. I'm assuming that you kind of want to miss the snow a lot of the time here if you are not a big enjoyer of winter, or not a big enjoyer of driving out there in these winter conditions. We're now looking at Mahomet along 74, looking east there. Again, just one lane cleared in both directions. So you get the picture. I can show you a million cameras here. It's all pretty much the same story. The best thing that I can show you to kind of hammer home the points is this map right here, the current road conditions. Once it pops up, there we go. The more pink you see, the less desirable it is to be driving. And if we even zoom in here, we can kind of see individual roadways. It should kind of load things a little more on a small scale. So you can just see all of these main highways here. All of these interstates have that pink color on them, which just indicates that it's going to be hard to travel here for quite some time. So that is going to continue to be the story for as long as that snow hangs around, for as long as this is actively going on, which should be until around 4 or 5 o'clock there in some locations. So hang in there. It is going to be a longer afternoon here still when it comes to go anywhere. But that's why we say if you don't have to be anywhere, don't go anywhere, just because it is a lot easier to hang out inside and just enjoy the comfort of your home than it is to go out here and battle these conditions. One thing I also want to bring up, brought it up briefly there for just a moment. Let's look at your weekend forecast, because we know what's going on today. What's happening the rest of the weekend? Well, there's not going to be any active snow from tonight onward, but look at those temperatures. It is going to be -6 tonight for a low. It's going to be 5 degrees during the day tomorrow, -6 tomorrow night again. So once again, this dangerous cold, it's nothing to be messed with, because the cold alone is a problem. The snow alone is a problem. Then all of a sudden you're tacking on both together, and you can just tell how things will kind of double down there and be a little bit of a hassle to get through. And those wind chills exactly here through the night. Let's bring up this chart here. You're going to see temperatures again into the single digits. You're going to see those wind chills falling well below zero. We're going to have -15 by midnight. We might double that in some spots by the end of the night. It might be -30 for someone who wakes up tomorrow morning, -30 on that wind chill. And I went back and looked to see how long it's been since at least Champaign has gotten a wind chill of -30 or worse. Is back in January of 2024. So it's been almost 2 years since it's happened. Doesn't happen every year. I feel like we do have a 1 or 2 day stretch every year where it's maybe -20, gets close to -30, but usually it's January. Usually it's February. Usually it's not, December the 13th. So again, early season winter madness. The good thing is, I'll bring this up here real quick, and then we'll get back to some of the coverage here with what's going on right now. One good thing I can kind of put you in on here is that the extended outlook looks fantastic. This is from the 20th to the 26th. Oh, those red and orange colors. That means temperatures are likely to be above average. So we're talking about maybe 40s, close to 50s in some spots there as we get deeper into December. Personally, I would have loved if this were to have flip-flopped around. I would have loved if it were 40 or 50 something here the first half of the month, and then cold and snowy by the time we get to Christmas and New Year's, just because I feel like it fits the mood a little better. So my personal preference, I know a lot of people think that way too, but if you're sick and tired of the winter, like I'm sure many of you are, hang in there, because later on in the month, things are going to be much, much nicer, much more mild anyway. So again, if you're sick of what's happening right now, give it just another week or so, and we should be in good shape. So circling back to how we started things here, the most recent update is a winter storm warning for several counties. I believe our Indiana counties outside of Benton County were always in that winter storm warning, or at least as of this morning. But now we've added these counties here in central Illinois to that list just to kind of emphasize that that's where some of those higher totals are going to be. We're pushing 5 or 6 inches already in some of these locations, and we've still got 3 or 4 hours of snow still to go. So that is where problems are going to persist. That's where the snow is going to continue to stack, and that is where you are going to see scenes such as these. And I'll bring that back to full screen here. The one outside the State Farm Center just kind of looks picturesque right now. I know that's not necessarily what people want to see. They kind of want to see things not be so active, but it's kind of cool seeing the stadium there in the background with the snow coming down at a pretty good clip too. And of course, that intersection there in Charleston, still going to be busy. People still need to be places, but just be careful in those intersections. Just even getting here to the studio, I had to go through about, feels like 8 different stoplights here along Neal Street. There are some people that take those turns really quick, and then those back tires just kind of fishtail on them, and they're all fine. Nothing happened with them, but just kind of accelerate a little slowly, because you don't want to, again, just kind of fishtail and wave all around and all of a sudden cause a mess when there wasn't one to be made in the first place. As long as you have patience, as long as you have time on your hands because you left for your destination a little early, this is definitely something that we can continue to get through. So I am also just kind of scanning the chat here. If you guys have any sort of questions, again, any sort of reports, that is all helpful too. Anything that you pass along is certainly of use to us. We can get some usefulness out of it. And what I'll do here, if I can manage to pull it off, I might not be as talkative here for just a moment of time, but that is not because I'm ignoring you guys. That is because I am trying to, that's because I'm trying to put together that snowfall graphic for you guys so that way you can kind of visually see what's going on. So I am going to seemingly do nothing, but I'm going to let you guys look at those cameras. And then I'm going to work on my little snowfall graphic back here. So that way we can show you some of those numbers visually. So that way you can kind of keep track of where things are, where some of the highest amounts are. And that way it's not just me saying it over a graphic that shows you different numbers. So bear with me here. Enjoy the snow. Grab yourself a nice little blanket and just enjoy things here while we get that put together. Again, any sort of comments, any sort of questions, be happy to try to answer them even as I'm putting this together. So that way we can kind of maximize our time here. So putting that together, checking out the comments. Let's see here. Let's see what anyone said. Yeah, a couple of people mentioned the shots here that we're getting. I kind of like this 4-camera setup. It lets us obviously see more of what's going on here at once. I know the single camera lets you see one particular spot a little better, but I kind of prefer the ability to see multiple locations at once and have it be a nice live streamed video too. Just kind of adds to the look, adds to the scene here. And this winter, I've talked about a few times, has been off to a fast start. We've already had more snow this winter than we've had here in, I think, 2 of the last 5 winters. So we are only adding more to that here this year. There's going to come a point in time where if we don't get any more snow for the rest of the year, you know, no snow in January, no snow in February. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying some crazy hypothetical here. It's going to, historically, you're going to look back and not have known something like that would have even happened because we're just getting so much here in November and in December as well. About halfway through the list here, I personally have noticed that my quality of narration has tailed off a little bit since I've been multitasking with putting these together, but I promise I'm almost done, and I will show you this here whenever it is completed. And these are just some of the top locations. This is in no particular order here, just some of the I believe the 12 fastest locations I was able to write down and still be able to talk about here at the same time. So again, your reports are always helpful, and I will, of course, do my best to have them be shown, have them be shared at some points in time, even if it's not on this first list here. We'll do 2 more totals, and then the long-awaited list is going to be here. So that one, and then one final one, we'll put what Springfield has. And now I can finally focus a little more on what's going on here. There we go. Now I've got the list pulled up, and I will take you away from the, ooh, Good thing I didn't pull it up yet. It says yesterday under snow reports. That is not true. It is today. So let's put that. Oops. There we go. And that is all taken care of. And now with the power of one single button, there you go. There's your snowfall totals. So again, those were just kind of quickly put together. We've got a list that carries on more than just that, but lots of 4 to 6 inch reports from north all the way to kind of some southern-ish counties. I'm kind of talking about Coles County mainly, but Gibson City 6 inches, Royal 6 inches, Bellflower, Bismarck also 6 inches, Villa Grove up to 5.5, Armstrong 5, Mahomet 5, Leroy 5, Lexington, Champaign, Charleston 5 inches, and then Springfield's up to 4 inches as well. So this has happened very quickly. We kind of talked about how 4 to 6 inches might be all the more that we get, but this powdery stuff, it is just continuing to pile up here, and that's kind of what happens with some of these events in this cold weather. The snowfall prediction models are a lot better at handling it when it's a normal kind of cold, not a bitter type of cold like what we're heading towards. So every now and then that can kind of be a little tricky when it comes to knowing what the snowfall ratio is going to be. It would be amazing if there was a simple, easy way to calculate that, but science is just so intricate. There's just so much going on there to where sometimes all of a sudden things come together the way they wish to rather than the way it looked like they were going to. But still, impacts have been just about the same as what you would expect. Those amounts are right within the ballpark number that we've been saying here up until this point in time. So those are your totals. Again, if you have any more in the chat, I would love to hear them. I have pretty much touched up on all the things that I had to say, that I wanted to say. The big thing was just pointing out some of those accidents that were out there, in particular around, forgot to reset. Actually, no, that works. Some of the accidents that were out there, including around Mattoon, just east of Mattoon. There's parts of 57 that are shut off all the way up through Arcola, and then one kind of south and east of down there in Springfield that is causing some issues as well. So let me turn back to, let's see here. Where are my buttons? There we go. So that's a look at your radar picture. And then we'll see if we can bring me up here one more time. Oops. There we go. All right. Mosey back over here to the Weather Center. Now we'll bring myself back up. Hey, there we are. So that's pretty much all the stuff I wanted to touch up on. The good thing about this Saturday, compared to a bunch of the other Saturdays here over the last several weeks, is that there actually is a 6 o'clock show. There's not going to be any kind of college football interrupting it. There might be a small interruption because there is a game on just before the 6 o'clock news. That may push us a little later, but we're still going to have the full-length newscast around 6, maybe as late as 6:15 or 6:30, but we'll be able to bring you some updates there. But I just wanted to hop on here since it had been several hours since I did that 8 a.m. show. Just kind of wanted to bridge the gap and let people know what was going on. Even though I'm about to wind down things here on the stream, we're still going to keep things up there on our actual Facebook pages, all of our social medias and stuff like that. So make sure you're following us and staying in touch, because even though we're not always actively on screen here talking, we're kind of behind the screen providing some updates. So again, that's all I had. And I didn't really notice any questions in particular here, just kind of some general comments, which is all helpful, all good stuff. So I think I addressed pretty much everything. Again, snow looks like it's going to wrap up sometime generally around 5 o'clock, maybe some places a little earlier, maybe some places a little later, but hopefully right around then, that's when these impacts start to slow down. That's where we start to get our footing back a little bit. And that's when we can kind of start to get past this bitter cold, because it's no fun for anybody. I know some people enjoy the snow. Some people just enjoy wintertime. I don't know too many people that enjoy a wind chill of -20 to -30. So that can just be a little irritating, but only for this weekend. And then, like I said, those 40s are going to be back into the picture. So it's going to feel fantastic here before too long. Just going to scan the chat with the National Weather Service, make sure I didn't miss anything. Looks like no extra news there, just some snowfall reports that have been tossed in. So with that being said, we'll give the chat one last glance here. But again, I've said all about it I need to say. There was one commenter, we're still looking at up to 8 inches, says Brian. Just depends where you're at. I'll bring up that map one more time, and then we'll wrap things up here. So originally, the forecast was somewhere around 3 to 5 inches up to 6 inches, and that still holds true for a lot of us. But now this pink strip here, that's where some of those steadier bands have been. Now all of a sudden, you're talking about isolated locations that could see 7 inches. Maybe there's a spot that jumps up to 8 inches, as we saw from some of those reports. There's lots of 6-inch reports up there in McLean County, up there near Ford County, I think parts of northern Champaign County as well. And that's where the snow is still actively falling. So we're not going to see those totals shrink, of course. But you look behind the system, I can't imagine this goes on for too much longer. It's still going on here for another couple of hours, but there's not anything crazy waiting out there in Iowa still. Looks like there's going to be another kind of band of moderate snow settling on in here at some point in time. That'll be north of I-72. So watch for those spots to maybe exceed that 6-inch mark in just a few locations. But kind of in general, 4 to 6 inches looks like a pretty decent guesstimate there for a lot of us. But yes, it does look like some of us are going to surpass that point here before the afternoon and evening is over with. All right, that's all I got for you. We're on here for, wow, close to 45 minutes. Doesn't feel like that whenever you're breaking things down. It sure feels like things go by pretty quickly here. So again, we're not going anywhere. We're just going to kind of wrap up the stream. We'll still be on our digital channels here to make sure that you are updated here with the latest. Of course, stay safe, stay warm with those cold temperatures.